Welcome to another edition of the Gruber Morning Show, sponsored by the Gruber Companies. Rodents liking Teslas?
We're going to be talking about driverless cars today as well.
And what do the Lucid faithful think about this new Gravity?
VW has announced an EV slowdown. Does that mean EV demand is slowing down overall?
I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner.
These and other stories on the Gruber Morning Show. So, VW, what's going on there? Let's take a look. The situation at the Volkswagen Group's largest electric car factory in Zwickau, Germany, appears to be worsening, according to this headline. After numerous reports of demand issues earlier this year, Volkswagen canceled its third shift on production, line number 1, which is responsible for the VW ID3 and the Cupra Born models. Now, this move was expected since September, and previously Volkswagen announced the end of the Volkswagen ID3 production at the Transparent factory in Dresden, Germany. Lower volume was cited as a cause. Now, this comes on top of problems at production line number 2, which is responsible for the MEB-based crossover SUVs, Volkswagen ID4, Volkswagen ID5, Audi Q4 e-tron, and Audi Q4 Sportback e-tron. The production of these models in Zwickau is at a complete standstill because of insufficient supply of the all-new APP 550 electric motors from the Kassel plant. These are the 210 kW motors, which replace the older 150 kW ones. It's expected to remain that way until the beginning of December. What do you think about a slowdown at VW?
Do you remember when Mike Maloney was a guest a couple months ago, and he was talking about the inverted S-curve of demand when a new product takes over a market over time?
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned in that during that podcast how with the inverted S-curve on the new products, you're going to have a quick ramp up, and then you're going to have a pause, and then you're going to have the real demand kick in. The quick ramp up is when the early adopters pick up the new technology or whatever it is that's new. And the pause is what's occurring when the market is getting saturated and there aren't that many new adopters left to buy, and yet the product has not yet truly hit the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where we're at right now.
So you're optimistic, hoping this is a temporary pause, and
I am.
that adoption rates will continue.
I am.
The specs that they talk about, or the production goals, are that these 6 models with a capacity of more than 330,000 units annually is now producing just 2 at a reduced volume. This is according to Handelsblatt, which is a German magazine. If the situation does not improve, they say, then in 2024, both production lines might run on 2 shifts instead of the originally planned 3. In Zwickau, they produced 218,000 electric cars in 2022, and this year will produce only slightly more, potentially 230,000.
See, and this is, that statement right there is what leads me to think of this as a quote-unquote pause.
Mm-hmm.
The initial projections for these manufacturers were that there was going to be, 40 or 50% growth per year. What we're seeing, it's almost like cutting government spending. You're not actually cutting anything. You're just not rising as quickly as forecast.
Mm-hmm.
And so going from 3 shifts to 2 shifts still means that you have more work than you can possibly get done in a single shift.
One of the things that this article cites as putting pressure on established local manufacturers in Germany says the overall economic situation in Europe comes to light compared with high-volume local production of the Tesla Model Y in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the growing import of electric cars from China. So it looks like we've got some questions and comments. Instagram is joining us. Uzer Ahmed007 says, hi, with a lot of eyes. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. For those of you joining us, let us know where you're coming in from, what country. It's always interesting to our viewers what kind of global reach these podcasts have.
And I know on Instagram, you're just seeing the two of us with the green curtain in the background. That is our green screen. If you want to see the wonderful backdrop we have today, like Wayne Levitt has on YouTube, then switch over to YouTube or Facebook or just pretty much any channel other than Instagram.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a moment. As Wayne says, our cool future, our
Yes.
backdrop. And what we've been using most recently for our backdrops is ChatGPT-4, which is now combined with DALL-E. We had been using Midjourney ever since it was released and love the results, but we're finding that ChatGPT-4 is a bit more creative, a bit more colorful, and a bit more relevant to the prompt that we've asked it. So we're preferring that in many ways. What I asked for here was, show us a future of self-driving cars in a city with some VTOLs. And that's what we're seeing there.
You know, I love this picture, but part of the reason I love it is almost the humor side. If you look right about there, just to the left of my finger, you've got a car driving sideways. Just to the left of center, you have a car that's driving backwards,
Right.
or a car that's turned around and is driving the opposite way in the same lane as other cars that are coming towards us.
Right.
This car is going away. To me, those kind of things make it a little humorous, but it adds to the picture. It adds to the reality, because if it was up to us humans, that's just a normal day.
Yeah. Later on, we'll talk about the two self-driving cars, which are kind of interesting, and the fact that these cars now are no longer bidirectional, or they are bidirectional.
Yeah, that they are bidirectional.
Right.
And we may even have time to get into the proposed flying car race that is being talked about.
Very cool. It looks like Niels is back with us from Denmark. I'll let you read this one since it was your comment.
Yes, Niels, he says, I agree, but the S-curve will be long. And if EV demand stalls, then, of course, the ugliest EV will stop selling first. And the ID line is among them, I think. I tried an ID4, not impressed.
Sorry, VW.
Yeah.
TikTok, iMad K with a number of, from Dubai. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
TikTok, Patrick Deasy from Melbourne, Australia. See, we're starting to get a real
There we go.
international
already
audience
we've
here.
got Europe, we've got the Middle East, and we've got Australia represented.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Do you want to? Let's do the Waymo. If you guys can bring up the Waymo picture. I believe I have one here. Not, we'll talk about it instead. Sorry, Jesse, I did not put Waymo in here. All right.
I'll look one up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me tell you a story first. Here in Phoenix, I'm seeing more Waymos, a lot more. We go out, my wife and I, usually on weekends because we work all week long and there's not much, personal time. But we usually make our way to Scottsdale. We find our favorite restaurants. And you know what? I realized over the last couple of months, every outing we've made, I've seen a Waymo on the road. And, they're very distinguished. They have that big round thing on top. And I think Jesse's bringing one up. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. And it's strange because when you pull up next to one, right now they're beta testing. So there's no one inside the vehicle.
Right.
But yet it's driving right alongside you. And your natural tendency is, oh, my God, is this safe? Will it be able to stop? Is it obeying traffic, rules? And I think it's great that we are becoming conditioned to accepting this as normal. And it's good that companies like Waymo are actually putting these out there and letting them play with the humans to see how we adopt and how we accept.
I agree. My wife and I do a lot of our living, as it were, in Chandler, here in southeastern Metro Phoenix, and we see the Waymos quite a bit as well. There's nothing quite like driving up to a stoplight, look to your left, and the driver's seat and passenger seat are both empty, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute.
And we were driving east on Indian School towards Scottsdale, and there was a Waymo in the right lane. and it wanted to take a right turn into one of those little strip mall parking type spaces. And there were people messing with it on the sidewalk, going forward a little bit, then going back, and just making sure that they weren't going to get run over. So I think there's going to be a lot of teasing with these vehicles.
I think there is too. I love the idea. I think it's a wonderful thing. Phoenix is particularly well suited to being a beta test site for a company like Waymo because we're such a new city that our streets are aligned in very symmetrical grids.
Right.
Major streets are every mile, minor streets or intermediate streets are every half mile. And there are very few cities in the U.S. that can say that or do that.
If you look at Phoenix from the top down, from like an aerial view, it looks like a window screen.
It really does.
Everything is perpendicular except for one street, Grand Avenue, which runs diagonally across all of those perpendicular corners and squares.
That's right. And then up in the northwest, you've got, for a little while, Cave Creek Road kind of runs northeast.
Right.
And then it turns north and south. But it's fun. It's a neat little car, and we're getting used to just seeing them and not even really noticing or caring very much.
And the street names, other than the east-west, the north-south, are actually intuitive and intelligent names so that you can tell by the street name where you are. If you're on the east side or west side of Central Avenue, which is what divides Phoenix, streets are on the east side, avenues are on the west, and then the numerical equivalent gives you a rough approximation how far out you are. Now, you couldn't do that back east.
Right.
We had turns and twists, and all the streets were named after the builder's grandchildren or whatever.
Yes.
Right? So, interesting.
It makes it really easy for me to learn the streets because
Yes.
I'm from the Midwest and my old streets are winding and twisting and turning and very difficult to navigate. When
Right.
I moved here, I could count the streets.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Yeah. And then even the numerical equivalents, how far north and south you are.
Yeah, typically until you get quite a ways north, it's the address numbers, 1,000 for every mile.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Brilliant design and some forethought put into that. Of course, it was well after the horse and buggy days.
Yes,
That helped.
and that really helped a lot. We have a couple more people here. We have Niels. He says, all you get is foreigners as the natives are sleeping or at work.
TikTok, Banks UG official says live from Dubai. Well, thank you for joining us. Later on, we'll have a UAE planned event for VTOLs, which is kind of
Yes.
interesting. And the selected sites, one of them was Dubai. They're not sure yet where they're going to hold this.
Yes. Wayne Levitt on YouTube is coming in from Perth in Western Australia. For him, it's Wednesday already. It's 1:09 a.m. So thank you for being there in the late evening.
Highlander has joined us. Highlander, by the way, we got your message. You watched the Gruber Communications podcast, and there was an offer for a free sample of our Mini 6 cable, which is a category cable that was pioneered by Quabbin, actually, in conjunction with our inputs. And it is much thinner than your normal category cables, allowing data centers now to decrease their wire bundle sizes. And our team will be sending that to you. You're right, Claude has your address or should have. He says now, it's interesting to see how self-driving vehicles have moved from the manufacturing industry to the streets. I only know I'm in the manufacturing industry.
Yes. On YouTube, Clark Swartz says, Happy Thanksgiving from Gilbert, Arizona.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Clark.
And to all of our audience, this is Thanksgiving week. A lot of shopping going to go on this week. And my wife actually got a turkey yesterday, a 21-pounder. She thought all she could get was a 16-pounder. We have 20 people coming by. So it's important to have a massive
yeah.
turkey, you know.
Yeah, I get the privilege of deep frying our turkey this year.
Oh, you're going to deep fry first time?
No, I've kind of gotten a reputation now. I've got a couple of things that I do technique wise, and
Yeah.
my turkeys tend to turn out very, very moist. So we're going. What's new for us is we've got about 20 people as well coming over to our house. We're going to deep fry 2,
Two of them. Okay.
and my surprise was for deep frying, you don't want anything over about 18 pounds. I was having a hard time finding anything less.
Oh, really? Okay.
And the biggest I saw was a 24 pounder. I'm just like, man, it was only a couple of years ago that 18 pounds was as big as you could get.
Right. Instagram. He says, CH215714N says, "Hi, sunglasses boys." Well, we also have Cass, who has her sunglasses. She doesn't have them on right now. She has to see. But yeah. TikTok, Banks UG official UJE. He says, "We shall be waiting to meet you here in Dubai." Well, if we go there, we certainly would look forward to that.
We love that. And Wayne Levitt on YouTube also adds that car that was in our backdrop that was playing was a Waymo. Yes.
Very nice. Yes, true. So here's a story on the Waymo self-driving taxis. This article says, riding in a Waymo self-driving taxi is a unique and futuristic experience. The taxis are equipped with a variety of sensors, including LiDAR, radar, and cameras, which allow them to navigate the roads safely and autonomously. To ride in this Waymo self-driving taxi, you have to first download the Waymo app and create an account. Once you've created the account, you can use the app to request a ride. The app will then show you how long it will take for a taxi to arrive at your location. Nothing rocket science yet, right? I mean, those are
pretty
simple
straightforward
calculations. When the taxi arrives, you will simply need to open the door and get in. Now it's getting even simpler, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is no driver, so you will be sitting in the passenger seat. So you don't have to say hello to anyone, or other than the car, maybe.
Sure,
You can read
sure.
the car, I suppose. Once you're in the taxi, you can tell the taxi where you want to go. Again, voice commands. You can do this by speaking to the taxi or entering the destination into your application. The taxi will then take you to your destination safely and autonomously. You can relax and enjoy the ride, or you can use the time to work on your laptop, read a book, or even take a nap.
You know, I'm wondering though, if I'm the one taking a nap, my naps are too long. I get to that 15-minute away, destination, and I'd be just getting into my nap. So what's it going to do? Is it going to wait for a half hour while I finish my nap? Or am I going to wake up and find out that I'm somewhere completely different and I have 2 strangers sitting in the back of the car?
Totally. And, I'm going to make a prediction. I think that our generation will find it very difficult to actually nap with a driverless car.
Yes.
So how is Waymo different than Tesla is the question. Well, a Tesla view of the world is provided entirely by cameras, whereas Cruise and Waymo use an array of different kinds of sensors, most critically LiDAR. Short for light detection and ranging, the LiDAR system uses pulses of lasers to map the environment with impressive fidelity. Now, there's an old audio term, though at a much higher cost. Now, Jesse, you were saying something about the limitations of LiDAR compared to a camera-based Tesla system.
Yeah, whether it's LiDAR or whether it's the old sensors that Tesla used to have, it wasn't LiDAR, it was something else, I forget, but Tesla has upgraded to Tesla Vision specifically because they want to be able to differentiate the objects. So they don't want to just know that something is there, they want to know what it is. They want to be able to use their new Tesla Dojo and their more advanced AI to interpret the 4K imagery that they're putting on their new, because they have all 4K cameras now on the new hardware package for their cars.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is the LiDAR, is that what causing the traffic cones being put on the Waymo to make it stop? Like you see that in San Francisco?
I think either that or the sensor, the sonar or whatever it is. Yeah, whatever their range of detection is.
Yeah, I think it is too, Aaron. having driven a 2017 Tesla for some time, and seeing how the cruise control, especially with the newest software, is a little inconsistent now that it's just using cameras, it leads me to wonder, okay, what about LiDAR is it that makes these Waymos, they seem like they're always going, they're always seamless, and they always work. Hopefully Tesla can co-opt whatever technology is there or whatever algorithms and be able to get their cars to work exactly like that.
So I asked ChatGPT-4, what kind of vehicles does Waymo have on the road? I wanted to get, some information about, is it an ICE vehicle? Is it a hybrid? Is it a hydrogen? Is it electric? It said that the Waymo One fleet consists entirely of fully electric Jaguar I-Paces, the world's first premium electric autonomously driven vehicle. Looks like we've got some comments here. YouTube Dumbachari says, I took your guys' advice and started to work on EVs. I bought a 2012 RAV4, good choice, EV that had a bad Tesla motor. We're troubleshooting it now. Thank you guys for all the work you do. You're more than welcome. I hope our videos are useful to you, both the shorts and the long form videos.
Yes.
And he's got a PS. He says, fried turkeys are the bomb.
Thank you. On TikTok, Van Goat Wagon says, good morning, team. Hey, we have an update on the Lucid Gravity as well that I'd like to talk about just a little bit. Now, by now, everybody, I'm going to assume, has heard about the Lucid Gravity. It was announced last Thursday. So you and I actually spent just a little bit of time online and
breaking news type podcast.
Kind of breaking news. And here are some of the features again. It has about 440 miles of range. Starting price is going to be below $80,000. They'll have seating for up to 7. And it's going to come in a 1, 2, or 3 motor configuration, although the 2 motor configuration is going to be the first one. Their 0 to 60 is 3.5 seconds. And this is truly an SUV. It can hold 1,500 pounds of cargo and tow up to 6,000 pounds. Now, to bring something a little bit new to the conversation, I went to the Lucid forums and read some responses to a question that was asked there. Do you hold out for the Gravity or wait for something else? Here's my favorite response by far. I turned 70 waiting over 3 years ago for our Lucid Air, this gentleman wrote. And I swore I'd never do that again. I will say that digging and hanging on to every word, jot, rumor, and tittle about the Air during that time was a source of endless entertainment, although with a healthy dollop of aggravation occasionally thrown in. After living 14 months with our Air, I've become a hard and fast devotee of the brand. I've dropped my 3.5-year reservation for a Rivian R1S SUV, and now plan to replace our Honda Odyssey with a Gravity SUV when it comes out. However, I now find that the available first half 2023 language on the website actually means reservations will open up sometime this spring, with production not starting until the first half of 2024. So, I'm likely back at the Air rodeo, building excitement, followed by reservation delays, followed by production delays, followed by delivery delays, and probably while this and that spec changes along the way. And this time, I'll probably hit 73 while I wait. So why in the heck am I doing this all over again? It's because if the Gravity is to SUVs, what the Air has been to sports sedans, it is going to slay everything else in the marketplace.
Excellent comment.
I love that comment. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear your comments. We'll take them over the next 10 minutes to 15 minutes or so as we go through our articles, and then we'll bunch them together and read them all at once.
And while we're waiting, YouTube, Wayne Levitt says, I absolutely love my Model S 85D. It's unbelievable driving itself. It's a 2015 December build and has some sonar, radar, and cameras. It's pretty good, but swerves toward big white vehicles and oncoming headlights. Ooh. Okay.
That reminds me, there was a This is a few years ago. I was driving a Tesla to California with my wife. We were on vacation, and there was white construction fence along the side of the road. And we had the autopilot turned on, and sure enough, the Tesla swerved toward the white fence.
Oh, man.
And so we were, of course, keeping with the steering wheel, and it goes out and it beeps at you because it went out of it went out of autopilot. And my wife's like, "Will you stop that?"
YouTube Highlander says, thank you for that breaking news show on Thursday. Yeah. We're going to do more of those as really important news breaks in the EV world. Like we were talking about Sam Altman getting canned from OpenAI, and we thought that might be a great opportunity. What we're going to do the next time, though, folks, is keep it at something more than 5 minutes, because we really weren't on long enough to get the engagement that we could have gotten. And we'd love to, turn these types of things into a collaborative effort, a debate, if appropriate, and get your inputs as these types of news items break. Tomorrow, Wednesday, is our AI podcast at 10 o'clock, and we'll be talking more about that Sam Altman departure, the ramifications, and the implications of something like this.
Man, that seems like that's like an episode of a TV show, the way that the soap opera drama is going on right now.
Oh.
That's something else.
And there are things going on behind the scenes that will never be completely revealed.
Yeah, the fact that the level of what has been revealed is
already
crazy as it is. 710 of the 770 people that work at OpenAI have said, if you don't resign, we're following Sam to Microsoft. I'm like, dang. For something like that to make it public, you got to wonder what kind of stuff has been going on in private.
All right, TikTok Van Goatwagen morning team, thanks for joining us. Let's see. Van Goatwagen later on says, just went to the Charlotte Auto Show and was very impressed with the new Prius and need a Lucid. Prius, maybe they're making a big comeback.
I know that they're still hybrid. They are finally away from the ugly car syndrome.
We were all hoping that would take place.
Eventually, it took them about 20 years, but they've got a pretty nice looking car finally.
One thing I'll say about it, though, because my wife and I had two Priuses, it wasn't anemic. Off the line, it had a pretty impressive kick, because of that electric motor combined with the ICE engine. But the rest of it, it was it was not the kind of car you wanted to take to a car show. Let's put it that way. All right. Well, I've got a news item here for you guys. When is the last time you saw a car doing 171 miles per hour in reverse? The Rimac Navara apparently has broken a record for flying 275.74 kilometers per hour in reverse. And the old record was 20 years standing, and that was created by a Caterham 7 Fireblade, which was recorded at 165 kilometers per hour in reverse drive. Well, this Navara did 275, which is 171 miles per hour, in reverse drive sprint, earning the title for the Guinness World Record. Now, there's a picture of this, guys. Let's bring up the Rimac. It's called Rimac.
It's already up there.
Oh, sorry, there we are. Perfect. You guys are way ahead of me these days. I got to get used to that. Nice. The thing that puzzles me is, everybody goes in reverse, parallel parking and all of that.
Yeah.
Was this guy sitting in that cabin actually looking straight ahead, hand on the wheel, looking in the rear view and side view mirror, doing 171 miles per hour? If he was, he has my total and complete respect.
I watched the video. It is up on YouTube.
Yeah.
He has a little screen above his his steering wheel.
Right.
And he's watching through that screen while he goes like this and drives backwards at 171 miles an hour.
He's got my respect.
It's insane. It is. You've got to see the video at some point.
Yeah. One of the ways that apparently they were able to achieve this was there are no gears in this Rimac Navara. It's free of gears. It has 4 motors that either move forward or backward without any mechanical interruption. So I could see where that electric motor really doesn't care whether it's doing a forward or a reverse rotation.
Yeah. What do? You just reverse the polarity of the electricity going through the motor, and it'll spin in the opposite direction.
Right. Additionally, they say the Croatian company claims that this Navara can accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, almost 0 to 60, in 1.81 seconds, so under 2 seconds, regardless of forward or reverse direction. So if you really wanted to freak somebody out at a light, hopefully there's no one behind you, that would be a cool 0 to 60 to do. I think it would just blow people away. So anyway, there you go. The Rimac Navara has again broken a world record, and I don't know how many people will buy it for that capability. I certainly don't feel the need to go that fast in reverse, but
I don't feel the need to go that fast forward.
well, okay, we differ a bit.
I have to wonder though. I remember getting yelled at growing up because I would have a car that would sit in reverse, and I'd slam it into gear and try to get the wheels to spin. And I would be like, and I'm what I'm told is, well, okay, if you're not blowing out your clutch, you're going to tear up your transmission. Do not ever do that again. That was kind of how I was told. Well, these are just electric motors. If they spin as easily backwards as forwards, and there's no, you're going to have a lot of torque, obviously, if you're going 100 miles an hour backwards and you slam it into forward gear and start spinning. But what would happen?
Well, you'd break traction, definitely. There'd be a lot of spinning and hopefully no sideways movement. But with a 4-wheel drive vehicle, that would be an interesting thing to observe and watch.
I don't think it would damage anything, unless, of course, you just tore up the tires.
Yeah. Good question from YouTube, Ramon Hurt. He says, will you guys be doing a Cybertruck event live cast? Jesse was talking about that. We are planning on that. We're preparing for it. So, yes, as soon as any information comes out and the event, is there a particular time yet for that release, Jess? Do you know?
Not 100% sure. I'm going to be prepping that over the next few days, but Tesla events do tend to run long. We did that one Investor Day where it went a little too long for you guys, I think. So we're going to have to see and plan on that one.
Well, let's tell the rest of the story. It's the one that I fell asleep on, and I had sunglasses, and no one except him knew it, or you guys. All right. So TikTok, Van Goldwagen says Microsoft gained a gem. A good point.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a very good point. Sam Altman going to Microsoft. Not terribly surprised. I mean, Microsoft is the biggest investor in OpenAI. So, R.C. Robinson San on YouTube says, "Hey guys, GM has big plans again. Upvoted."
Okay.
I'm gonna have to see what else has been going on in the news with GM recently.
So another news item, if we can put up a picture, the UAE flying car. We'll talk about that event. We've got one of the audience members is from Dubai. He'll probably be interested in this. And while we're bringing that up, it's already up. Perfect. All right, there we go. As the United Arab Emirates prepares to host the world's largest autonomous car racing event, this is April 2024. There are plans to introduce the world's first flying car race, and the UAE is a top contender to host it, according to Christian Pinot, CEO of Maca Flight. This will be, however, a hydrogen-powered flying racing car. It is a spin-off from Airbus, Maca is, and it revealed its flying racing car earlier this year. It's priced at $2 million. The vehicle boasts a maximum speed of 250 kilometers per hour and 0 CO2 emissions.
Very cool.
They plan to, this flying car race, the flying height will be 4 to 5 meters above ground, attracting 8 to 10 participants in its debut. The UAE, particularly Dubai, is being considered as a potential host for this groundbreaking racing championship. with interest also shown by Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Bahrain. The goal is to establish a flying race car championship by the end of 2025. And guess who is collaborating and hosting and funding some of this? Red Bull, known for its involvement in extreme sports.
Have you ever been to an air show?
Yes.
If you remember, at some point during the show, you'll have this announcer that introduces the pilots, and they talk about them while they're flying and doing their aerial acrobatics. And at some point during the show, a lot of times they'll say something like this. He'll say, "Ladies and gentlemen, the most dangerous part of this show is not the fantastic looking tricks that you're seeing where the planes are high in the air. It's what happens when the pilots fly by just a few feet above the ground because there's no room for error."
Right.
These cars flying in a race at 15 feet above the ground is terrifying to me.
Yeah.
And it would be fantastic to watch. Anybody brave enough to do that, I could see why it's a Red Bull type of thing. And Red Bull is a actually fairly well-known sponsor of aeronautical racing.
Mm-hmm.
There is a race circuit here in the United States for just your standard airplane. They're racing planes.
Mm-hmm.
They'll go about 350 miles an hour. They have these poles that they'll set up, and the planes race at a couple hundred feet up or around a virtual racetrack that's with poles. And somebody that I used to work with up in Prescott Valley in Arizona helped to sponsor one of those planes.
Fascinating. You know, for those of you local guys here, you may not realize this, but a half a mile north of us here, they have air shows every year, and sometimes multiple. The Barnstormers, sometimes the Blue Angels will come. We are right by an airport, just south of it, by the way, Deer Valley Air Park. It's a small regional airport, so it lends itself well to this kind of activity because they can basically shut down a portion of the airport for these types of shows without affecting a lot of commercial jet traffic.
Sure.
But yeah, it's always fun to watch, and you're right. When they do those flybys, you just wonder, what if they get a down gust, you know?
Yeah.
Or they're flying upside down and they get a down gust, or
It's very crazy. A couple more comments we have from Niels. He says focus is too much right now on getting EVs. It should be more on saving total emissions. For example, if this guy buys a Lucid SUV, then he increases emissions, assuming an annual mileage of 10,000 miles or so.
Interesting. Okay. Of course, there are vehicles that are on the books right now, like Aptera, which would definitely reduce the total emissions. Anybody heard when that car is finally going to be released or coming out? Any news on that?
No, we can look it up though.
Yeah, Aptera. I have a rant actually where I talk about Aptera, and it deviates from the normal vehicle size and shape that you expect. It looks like a futuristic Jetsons type vehicle.
Yeah. Now, one response I have for you, Niels, Lucid, I found one other spec that I had not said earlier. Lucid is planning on the Gravity SUV getting roughly 3.6 miles per kilowatt.
Okay.
That is down at around 275 watts per mile of electricity usage. That would make the SUV one of the most efficient electric SUVs on the market, and overall one of the more efficient electric cars on the market.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, so I have an update from Aptera's website. It says, now this was back in March, so I don't know if this has changed, but it says Q2 of 2024 would be estimated first deliveries on the pre-orders, and by 2025 anticipate producing 7,000 cars
per year.
I know they go live on Instagram quite a bit, and the gentleman who does a lot of the lives is always saying 2024, but he never gives a month, or a quarter. He just says 2024. We should be rolling these out, and that's pretty much about it.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. So next summer, then we'll probably see them at some of the car shows as well.
Yeah.
Actually, Banana Man raises a interesting question from YouTube. He says, does the Roadster have a reverse speed limit? And you know what? I don't know. I drive them
That's a
every
really good
day,
question.
but I never try to go 171 miles an hour in reverse. So I don't know if there's a governor, if there's kind of a limiter there. I certainly hope so now that I think about it. But we'll look into that. We'll let you know, Banana Man.
I mean, just see whether or not you can go, say 30 miles an hour in reverse. But you're going to have a clear street even to do that, probably.
Totally. Yeah.
Sounds like a chance for a video.
It would. Yeah, now there's a cool video with a drone shot to boot. Of course,
Yeah.
if you're spinning out, that wouldn't be that cool, would it? Yeah.
No, probably not.
TikTok Van Goatwagen, he says, that's insane. But why? It makes a good getaway car, I guess.
Yeah, that Rivian NIMAC,
Yeah.
I guess it would be a good getaway car, although it's, it's a $2 million car.
TikTok Ulysses says you can probably lose consciousness.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Van Goatwagen, next, do the Rockford turn. Oh,
You know what that is?
No.
I believe the Rockford turn is when you're going in reverse at a high speed, you turn your wheel, your car flips around, and then you're going forward at a high speed.
Oh, that'd be too cool. Yeah.
That would be too cool. And that would be incredible to do in something like the Rimac.
Yeah. YouTube, Wayne Levitt. I saw this test last week, and I'm amazed my Model S shows a reversing speed. I got it to 37 miles per hour. Does that mean that you could take miles off of the speedometer by going in reverse with a Model S?
I don't know.
Technically, it's electronics, and you would think that it would add because it's wear and tear on the vehicle.
You would think, but it's hard to tell. Niels on YouTube says maybe there should be a $7,500 credit on e-bikes, just like there is on cars, because if you stop driving cars, that would really help big time.
Would $7,500 pay for the whole bike and give you some extra spending cash? I don't know how
Probably
expensive
would.
they are.
Yeah, it would. I've looked into Electrek. Where there's a company right down the street that makes them.
Yeah.
They're anywhere from low end 1,500 up to like 3,500. So
So you'd end up with maybe $5,000 cash from the federal government. But I think the federal government probably has figured out that could be an angle. So you're going to limit your payback. Instagram, the name is Lobo. Hello from Israel. Well, thank you for joining
welcome.
us. Yeah. YouTube, RC Robinson son, he says, Bayan. He's talking about Niels. I've seen an article that said e-bikes are destroying oil demand faster than EVs. That's an interesting article, yeah.
I love, I'm where Niels is. Regardless of what type of technology we end up with, as long as we can clean up our environment, I would love to again see a day like we saw when everything was shut down in the pandemic. Everybody is going to work, meaning they're working at home. The outside looks so pristine and clear and beautiful.
And have fun doing it because that's going to accelerate adoption.
Yeah, absolutely. Van Goatwagen on TikTok says, I never thought of this. Are there any EV passenger aircrafts? They're not yet, Van Goat. What the aeronautics industry has said is that the lithium-ion battery in its current state doesn't have enough energy density to be able to power an airplane in flight.
Mm-hmm.
They need to get about 2 to 3 times more energy density than they have right now in order to be able to effectively get an airplane going. And the exciting thing is that the battery technology is rapidly getting there. It looks like we're very close.
Mm-hmm.
hey guys, real quick.
Yeah.
We have less than about 10 minutes, and we still got to get through Zooks, and we got to get through the truth about supercharging.
Well, let's take a look at YouTube. Wayne Levitt. I'll keep you posted on my top reverse speed. So far, it's 37 kilometers per hour. First test, let us know. I'll also ask in the Tesla Roadster podcast, which is coming up here in 15 minutes, if any of those Roadster owners are aware of a speed limitation going in reverse with a Tesla Roadster.
Yes.
Niels is saying, yes, James Garner did them himself. He was a good driver. Highlander says James Garner was one of the best drivers. Niels is saying in his Trans Am with just the right axle spacing.
True.
Ramon Hurt says, does the Gravity come with the next charge connector?
Quick answer is going to be yes.
Okay, good. And finally, YouTube Bain Levitt. Yes, it works in reverse. I'm going to check if it rewinds my odometer. Yeah, let us know.
Please do, and get back to us on that one.
So let's throw a picture of the Zoox vehicle. And Zoox has gone through some difficult times. I remember a couple of years ago, a friend of mine went to work there, and then they either closed down, folded, near bankruptcy. I'm not sure. But apparently they're currently funded by Amazon. It's an Amazon subsidiary.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a vehicle that really doesn't look much like the other autonomous vehicles out there. They are transporting passengers now on open public roads, bringing their robo-taxis one step closer to commercial deployment. They had received a permit from the California Department of DMV, who operates its autonomous robo-taxis on public roads between its two main office buildings in Foster City, California. Over this 1 mile stretch, they say, the driverless vehicles can travel at a speed up to 35 miles per hour and either empty or with 4 Zoox employees on board. They say that putting the vehicles on the open public road is a huge step. A lot of regulation and red tape that you have to get through to get it approved for this type of thing. They of course, aren't the first ones. Waymo began doing this in 2020. Cruise followed suit in 2022. But previous robo-taxis have been standard cars retrofitted with autonomous features. This one is a unique vehicle in that it is what they call symmetrical and bidirectional. So you never have to do a U-turn with this vehicle.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I did a little bit of looking and found that most of the reason that you don't have vehicles like this on the road right now, Waymo not doing it, for example, is that the National Highway Transportation Safety Board is restricting vehicle makers to only have vehicles that can be controlled by a human being. Okay. And so this doesn't have a steering wheel. This doesn't have a brake pedal. This doesn't have an accelerator pedal. It doesn't have turn signals inside. However, the Zoox makers have said we can get to the full NHTSA and all the requirements and stuff. And the companies are typically just required to self-certify. They have found a way to be able to go to the government and say, yep, we've self-certified this. Don't understand exactly how, but they're being looked at, and so far they have that initial approval. So it is really a big deal.
And of course, we all know that this truly is the vehicle of the future. There will be no more humans piloting 2,000-pound masses of vehicles like this in the future.
Oh, sure. And in the shorter term future, I could totally see your taxi operators, your airport shuttles, in any place that needs to have a defined route, a fairly short distance, and autonomy, really be interested in a vehicle like this.
Mm-hmm. They say that if you pick someone up in their driveway in a Zoox, you can just flip the lights and drive the other way. It makes routing easier and more efficient. Now, they didn't really mean that you can. The vehicle does this itself.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool vehicle.
A question for you real quick.
Yeah.
You think that, 50 years from now, all the lanes will just be kind of, I guess maybe you still need 2 lanes, but you could just drive whatever direction in whatever lane depending on where you need to go? Because there won't be humans anymore, right? These things that can just drive in any direction will be on the road. Could change the whole entire rules of all the lanes of the road.
Just think you won't have countries where you're driving on the wrong side of the road anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm wondering if like bike lanes have taken off so much in the cities, at least, where the bicycles have their own dedicated traffic lane, if we're going to eventually have autonomous car lanes.
Ooh, that's a good question too.
And then as an interim step.
Yeah, where every other street becomes an autonomous car lane, and drivered cars are not allowed in those streets. Only autonomous cars are.
Yeah. Time will tell. All right, we're at 10:49. A few more questions. We've got a few more news items. Do we have time to go into a couple more, Jesse?
Yeah, I would say at least do the how fast charging effects, because that's in the title.
Okay. All right. Charging effects. We bring up that chart. Are you more versed on this one?
I am a little bit versed on this one. Recurrent Research is the company that did a research study of over 12,000 electric vehicle drivers. And they took and set aside two groups on the extremes of their list. The people who charged at a supercharger at least 90% of the time, and another group of people who charged at a supercharger 10% of the time or less. So the two extremes. And then they did a comparison to answer the question, does fast charging affect your battery health? And the short answer, as you can see from the graph right here, is no. It does not affect the battery health. That is, that's been one of the famous myths of supercharging, is that supercharging is going to kill your battery, or fast charging, DC fast charging is going to kill your battery faster than just charging at home or doing destination charging all the time. That and this particular study, because of the size of it, is really refuting that. The reason behind this is the all of the battery management systems. They help to manage the heat load that's in the battery. It's heat that kills batteries, and while charging is one of the main things that causes batteries to heat up, the battery management system knows how to manage that appropriately. And so it makes it so that a battery charging on a supercharger or on a DC fast charger of any kind doesn't heat up any more than it would if it were charging on a standard 240 volt or 120 volt charger.
And folks, we had to modify our position on this because we were going with conventional wisdom for a long time, saying supercharging is bad, don't charge to 100%. And it turns out the data doesn't lie.
Yeah, the data doesn't lie, and the data is contradictory to this. The things that the recurrent study talked about that can harm a battery, I think are important to mention as well. First, the having a battery that gets too low, or having a battery being charged when it's at too high of a charge, that below 20% and that above 90% range cause an exponentially higher amount of heat and resistance in the battery as compared to when a battery is between 20 and 90%. Those things can damage batteries more. If you're driving in exceptionally cold environments or you're driving in exceptionally hot environments and you don't take time to let your car condition the battery, it's going to raise resistance. It's going to potentially damage your battery no matter what kind of charge you put it on. So if you have your car sitting outside in the wintertime and it's 10 degrees outside and you're like, dang it, I forgot to charge my car, and you just dump it into a charger while that battery is super cold, first, what's going to happen is that the car will charge extremely slowly. Most of the energy is going to go to heating up the battery before the car is allowed to charge the battery, because the battery has higher resistance in cold. Same thing happens in heat. If you're at the movies and you see a supercharger right there and you're like, well, my car's been sitting out in the heat for 3 hours, I don't care, I'm going to drive it over to the supercharger and then go to a restaurant. You could damage your battery a lot more because your battery is so hot than if you had taken and driven your car for 4 or 5 miles, which by itself will precondition the battery.
So we will continue to report any new findings on battery care and keeping. Stay tuned. We're going to switch over to our Tesla Roadster podcast here in just about 5 minutes. But one thing I wanted to grab before we do, YouTube, R.C. Robinson Son says, and this is regards to how fast can a Tesla Roadster go in reverse? Is it comparable to the Rimac Navara, which can go 171 miles per hour in reverse? He says the maximum Tesla Roadster speed in reverse is 15 miles an hour. He just looked at the Roadster manual in reverse, so it looks like the power electronics module has an algorithm that is limiting the amount of juice or current that it'll feed to that three-phase AC induction motor.
Makes total sense.
Any of you want to continue to chat with us? In 5 minutes, we'll be live on the Tesla Roadster stream. It'll be on our YouTube channel as well, and we can continue some of these discussions that we've started here. So feel free to join us. We'll see you shortly.
Thank you.